gonna keep it simple. If you have to go back to the last video, in which we talked about the challenge that made Julius Caesar, and the gift of challenge. We talked about the gift of challenge and how environmental exposure plays a role in that challenge that we feel within ourselves, or someone inspires us by means of their willingness to accept challenge. And yeah, if you go back, the video talks about the story, when we can even use this story, but we'll use other examples to show you how powerful environmental exposure is. And we're going to show you just how powerful environmental exposure is in just a second. Because if you go back to the video, you'll get the whole story, but basically there was a point where Julius Caesar, he was like 33, he went to Alexandria, and it was the first time that he was met with a statue of Alexander the Great. And he wept at the statue. He fell down because he hadn't accomplished anything at the age of 33. And here he was at the feet of this great statue of this man who, by age 19, was already starting to conquer places, and conquered a kingdom so big that it was about 90% of the known world at that point. And not just conquered it, but conquered it and maintained it in order for the short duration of time that he was alive. But still, it was, I mean, just myself reading from Alexander the Great, you get a sense of admiration for the fact that he could just, because the thing is, like, there was a lot of conquerors in those times that would conquer, but then there would be, like, thrown over again by the same people, by means of, like, rebellion that they would get, right? But Alexander, no, he maintained everything that he conquered in order, and but then when he died, everything fell apart, because it was him that was holding it together, basically. But even Alexander had other people that he looked up to, even though he did have almost like a Greek god complex, because he did believe the stories that were told of him, even before he was born. There were prophecies about him that gave him enough belief in his self-image that was given to him, basically, of royalty, of greatness, of everything that he was, basically, because the self-image determines your outcome. And that's if you go back there, I'm sure I made a video about it. If not, then ask me a question about how self-image, maybe I'll do another one and I'll go more in depth, depending on if it's not already made, because we gotta keep it fresh, simple but fresh, right? And so the thing that people don't know about Alexander is that even he had a collection of stories from other great conquerors, and some that are debatable because they were like sometimes even like just like Achilles himself, which was not necessarily known if it's like true or not, everything about Achilles, but he saw himself as a descendant of this great warrior who was also a descendant from gods, and all this fed into his story. And in a way, that's how environmental exposure also impacted him, because he kept these stories with him. Even when he went to battle, he kept these stories with him, in order for him to just be surrounded by that challenge that inspiration brings, because that's what happens when happened when he read those stories. That's what happened when Julius Caesar was confronted by this statue of Alexander the Great. And it's an inspiration that you get from being surrounded not just by those people, but like people in your own field that have accomplished great things, keeping them their strategies fresh in your mind. It has a intoxicating effect on you sometimes, because you'll find when you surround yourself with like their stories, the way they lived, the where they were, you'll find yourself taking on their almost like posture. You start to think, oh, how would it feel to be that person? And the reason for that is because the thing that people don't know either is that this is proven scientifically. You can go look up the papers and everything, but generally we have come to the conclusion that people tend to be the average of the 5 personalities of the people that they surround themselves with the most at all times. Generally, it's like your friends, your family, yeah, but like these people that have accomplished great things, they have always had some other source of inspiration that they have always kept fresh in their mind, so that they can accomplish great things, so that they can be surrounded by that challenge and that inspiration that begets greater and greater things, always. Yeah, maybe next video, actually, now that we're talking about inspiration, we'll talk about the fact that inspiration is not something that you stumble upon. It's something that you can manufacture, in fact, if you are willing to know yourself and willing to know what is that sparks that within your heart. So, see you in the next video.